This is figure 6-1 on page 139 of the mechanical drawing textbook. I have not drawn the figure completely. I'm just going to show you enough to get started and complete. However, you will be tasked with completing the entire figure, drawing the figure, and putting all the dimensions and annotations in on your drawing. This will be due the next class period. So get a good start on it. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to show you how to do a text box to do a general note, use a quick leader tool to do a local note. I use the diameter dimension tool to do this dimension, the radius dimension tool to do this one, and the linear dimension tool to do this one and this dimension. All right, I'll go ahead and start off with the easy ones. All right, first off, the general note, all you have to do is just come down to your text box, draw multi-line text right here on the side. All right, and go ahead and type in rounds and fillets, radius of 0.12. I didn't make my text box long enough, but I'll fix that in a second. All right, all text size is 1/8 of an inch, so I'm going to highlight it, come up to 0.2, and I'm going to choose 0.125. You might have to type it in. All right, go ahead and click OK. That's all there is to it. You notice I've got it on my center line layer. I've got to put that on the dimension line. All right, so that's the way yours should appear. Make sure it's on the dimension line layer. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select the dimension line layer so I don't have to do that again. The next one, I'm going to do the easy ones first. All right, first of all, I'm going to show you there's a certain number of tools on this toolbar that you're going to use the rest of the year. There's the linear dimension tool, aligned. This is the radius tool. The circle with the double arrow is the diameter. You might use angular dimension tool and the quick leader tool. The easy one to do is a linear. I'm going to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to dimension the 1.75 dimension from this center line to this center line. You notice that it's perfectly all right to dimension center lines, but you notice that I knew I was going to have to dimension my center lines, so I cut them off. Center lines are supposed to go past the object, and you notice that you can see where I've cut them off. So I can go ahead and dimension the endpoint from this center line to this one. I'm going to pull it down, and of course it's got to be about 3/8 of an inch. Got to be careful so we can fit these in about 3/8 of an inch away from the body. All right, and it's okay for these to overlap. Center lines overlap objects. These are extensions of center lines, so this is perfectly good dimensioning practice. That's all there is to the linear dimension tool. I'm going to use it one more time to do this 0.44 dimension on the lower right-hand corner of the object. So I'm just going to come and I'm going to click, use my O-snap tool to click this endpoint and click this endpoint. I'm going to pull it out to my right, again about 1/2 inch, and I've got my 0.44 inch dimension inputted there. All right, another easy one is I'm going to use the radius dimension tool to do this arc over here, and it's a radius of 0.62, so I'm going to click the radius tool, and I'm going to click this arc, and I'm just going to pull it out about the 1 o'clock position, about 3/8 of an inch, and I'm going to click there. And that's an easy tool to use. That's all there is to it, with one exception. You notice in the middle here, I've got red center lines. The center point of this radius is going to be selected. All right, so I'm going to zoom in, and I have to delete these. These are bad. We want the center lines, green center lines here. So every time you use this, you're going to have to explode this dimension tool and erase these lines. So I'm going to click it. I'm going to use the explode button. So now I can highlight these lines only and click the delete tool and get rid of those. That's something you're going to have to get used to doing. All right, I'm going to go back, center my drawing a little better. I've saved the hardest ones for last. So I'm going to use the quick leader tool, which is this button with the lightning bolt in it. It's called the quick leader. All right, and what that does, a leader line, which is the same as this line right here, it points to an object. So I'm going to click the quick leader tool, and I'm going to do the point, a diameter of 0.38, the local note that's pointing to this inner circle. All right, sometimes if you notice, my O-snaps are going to get kind of a pain to use. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my O-snap, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I can just put my arrowhead. The first time I click my button, it's going to be the point of the arrowhead. So I'm just going to eyeball it about the 10 o'clock position, and I'm going to pull it out to my left, again about 3/8 of an inch away from the object. You just got to get the feel of it. My second time I'm going to click, I'm going to go horizontal about 1/4 of an inch. All right, and now notice in my command line it reads specify text width. I'm going to use for this one, you're just going to have to get used to it, I'm just going to use 1 inch. So in the command line I'm going to type 1 and press enter. In my first line, now the command line reads enter first line of annotation text. I have to actually type in 0.38, and you notice the 0.75 and the 2 holes. I have to actually type those in. You notice I have symbols in there. That theta symbol is a symbol for diameter, and also the U shape is a symbol for what's called a counterbore. All right, I'm going to go ahead and type in the text first and go ahead and worry about those later. So I'm going to type in 0.38 in my command line. I'm going to press enter. Now my command line reads enter next line of annotation text, and I'm going to type in 0.75. I'm going to type in actually CBOR 0.75. That symbol, the U-shaped symbol, is not in our library in AutoCAD, so we can't use it. So, but that's all right. You can abbreviate counterbore instead. So I'm going to type in CBOR space 0.75 and press enter. And lastly, I'm going to type in 2 holes and press enter. And now when I'm done typing in, I right mouse click and they appear on my screen. Now notice I'm missing my diameter symbol. All right, I got to go back and enter that. So I'm going to highlight, I'm going to double click this text, and notice my cursor is right where my diameter symbol is. I'm going to come up, there's an options button. In this text line, there's an options button right here. It's the down arrow. I'm going to pull it down, and I'm going to select symbol, and the third one down from the top is the diameter button or symbol, and notice my theta symbol enters. Now I click OK. All right, I'm done with the local note. The next one I'm going to do, the last one, is I'm going to use the diameter dimension tool, the tool here with the double arrow, and I'm going to click it, and I am going to do the inner diameter of this circle. I'm going to go right here, I'm going to click on it, I'm going to pull it up about the 1 o'clock position again, 3/8 of an inch away from my object, and notice I have the diameter of 1.25 in, but I'm not through yet. You notice in the book you've also got a down arrow of 1.06. That down arrow symbol is the symbol for depth. So this hole has a depth of 1.06 inches. How do we do that? Again, we're going to have to actually type in the text here. And in order to do that, I have to explode this dimension. So I'm going to highlight the dimension, and I'm going to click the explode button. And now I can double click this text, and notice I can edit it. I'm just going to put it to the side of the 5. I click the enter tool, and the depth symbol, the down arrow, again, unfortunately is not in our symbol library for AutoCAD, so I'm actually going to have to type in depth. Depth of 1.06, and that's perfectly fine. All right, click OK. I've just got 2 problems I got to clean up. Notice you're never, ever supposed to overlap lines in text. And notice my depth term is overlapping my leader line here. No problem, just highlight, click once, grab this blue handle, and drag it over to the right. All right, and that cleans that up. Last but not least, again, I got to zoom in, and I got to get rid of these red lines. I click those, I click delete. Red lines do not overlap center lines. All right, I click the all button, and again, I haven't completed all the dimensions on figure 6-1, but you're supposed to, but I've given you enough tools in order to complete everything. So first of all, draw the figure, and then go back and fill in all the dimensions.